Dr. Harshbarger.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Good afternoon. First and foremost, I'd like to express on behalf of my entire office staff our sincere condolences to the loved ones and assure them we are available to help answer any questions or assist in any possible way. I also want to add a thank you to my staff who worked so diligently, supported the Family Assistance Center, and continued to develop case information, particularly in conjunction with the Miami Valley Regional Crime Laboratory. Finally, I cannot say enough about the support the families receive from the Victim Witness Division within the Prosecutor's Office and directed by Sandy Hunt. My plan today is to give some additional updated information as it relates to the injuries sustained during the examinations I conducted. It is my hope that the media will respect the families and understand some of the loved ones have expressed great pain by having to endure the reporting on specific details as it is related to their family member. Out of respect for the family members, I will be giving only a general statement and respond to a few questions as I am able to at this time in the investigation process. Each cause of death statement has been previously released. Of the 9 victims, after evaluation of the scene and timelines, it is my opinion the assailant's weapon has been confirmed through comparisons to recovered projectiles or projectile fragments and demonstrated lethal wounds for all victims who by circumstance were potentially at risk for sustaining additional injury during the forced police or law enforcement response. Other fragments within various injuries are not comparable scientifically, or the police weapon, the .223 caliber, has been excluded as the source. However, one individual during the process did sustain additional subsequent gunshot wounds during the forced police law enforcement response, which, when considered in isolation, which of course is not what occurred, would also have been lethal under the circumstances. A second person sustained a superficial, non-lethal wound. As for the assailant, he sustained multiple gunshot wounds of his torso and upper and lower extremities. The wounds were sustained above and to the side of the body armor plates. A pipe device was found in his pocket with an attached clear plastic baggie that has been determined to contain cocaine, and the assailant's cavity blood sample was found to contain cocaine, alprazolam, and ethanol. With that, I will turn it over to the chief.
Thank you, Dr. Harshbarger. The mass shooting that occurred on August 4th is a tragedy in every sense of the word for the shooting victims, their families, and the community. 9 people were killed, dozens injured, and hundreds more have to deal with what they saw and experienced in those chaotic and horrifying 30 seconds. In addition to the remarkable actions and courage of those first few officers, the overall response included additional officers immediately rendering first aid, applying tourniquets, performing CPR on people with traumatic gunshot injuries, as well as officers putting the badly wounded in their vehicles and transporting them to hospitals. Citizens also rendered first aid and helped in any way they could until trained paramedics and firefighter personnel could respond to the scene. Fortunately, all injured citizens who were hospitalized survived their injuries. Our intent in responding to this rapidly emerging crisis was to try to help the many innocent citizens in the Oregon District by immediately stopping the killing. This incident involved an intense firefight that is rarely seen other than in combat and in active shooter incidents. The officers were confronted with a moving shooter wearing body armor, actively executing victims with an AR-15 type weapon and high-capacity magazines, as you well know. Depending on this position of police officers, the moving assailant, fleeing victims, and the dynamics of the physical environment itself, all over a very short period of time, there is a danger in shooting and there is a danger in not shooting. Both decisions can result in adverse outcomes, and that is true in this incident. However, the substantial danger in not shooting and not immediately stopping the assailant would have, without question, resulted in exponentially more fatalities. It is a dynamic and chaotic environment that did not allow for perfection in execution of the tactical response, even if there is such a thing. Although it weighs heavily on us that some of our rounds caused additional wounding, we are comforted by the coroner's finding that no rounds fired by officers resulted in death of any innocent citizens. Earlier today, Dr. Harshbarger and I spoke with immediate family members of those deceased victims who were also injured by police gunfire to explain the injuries incurred. I express my deepest condolences for their loss and profound regret for that any actions taken by members of the Dayton Police Department resulted in any harm to their loved ones. I emphasize that our collective efforts were intended to save lives and prevent harm to innocent persons.
Okay, questions?
So to clarify, you said that police did shoot one of the victims, but you have determined it was not a fatal shot, is that correct?
In isolate? I think it's a little more complicated than that. In isolation, which is obviously what did not happen, both wounds in one victim would have been lethal. I believe by positioning, by pathway, by evaluating the scene, the video evidence, the first round was the lethal round was the shooter's or assailant's weapon, which has been scientifically confirmed to be from his weapon. So the lethal process had started, bleeding had started. She was, by positioning, likely on the ground as the police responded and received an additional wound that caused injury.
And that person just was shot twice?
She was shot more than twice, but if you're referring to law enforcement, yes.